Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. Holy Father, bless.
May he who sent down the all-Holy Spirit from heaven in the form of fiery tongues on his holy disciples and apostles, Christ our true God, through the intercessions of his all-pure and all-immaculate Holy Mother, the power of the precious and life-giving cross, the protection of the honourable bodiless powers of heaven, the supplications of the honourable glorious prophet and forerunner John the Baptist, of the holy, glorious and praiseworthy apostles, of the holy, glorious and triumphant martyrs, of our righteous and God-bearing ancestors, of the holy and righteous ancestors of God, Joachim and Anna, and of all the saints, have mercy on us and save us as a good and loving God. Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Brothers and sisters, please be seated while I say a few words. With yesterday's Sunday liturgy being one of the longest services we do in the year, I didn't get to say as much as I wanted to say about Pentecost, so we'll have a bit of a follow-up today. One of the hymns that we chant at Pentecost as well as today, and today's goes together with Pentecost. It's not considered a separate celebration. It's like Easter celebrates for a whole week, and that first week of Easter, being Bright Week, is considered one big 7-day day. Likewise, Pentecost carries over to today, so it's a 2-day celebration. The hymns that we chanted are identical in some regards, so some of the hymns we chanted were identical to the ones we chanted yesterday, and some of the hymns are unique to today, which focused on specifically the Holy Spirit. Now, one of the beautiful hymns that we can talk about today is one that does a bit of a comparison between something that happened in the Old Testament and something that happened in the New Testament. And this comparison is made between these two events. The first is the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Babylon. And the New Testament event that is compared with the Tower of Babel is Pentecost itself. So the hymn says, I'll translate it, I'll read it out in Greek first because it's beautiful in Greek as well, and then I'll extrapolate that in English. Ότε καταβάς τας γλώσσας συνέχεια διεμέριζεν έθνη ο ύψιστος. So basically this is a reference to the Tower of Babel. So basically, if you remember the story of the Tower of Babel, the civilization in Babylon decides to build a tower that was meant to reach the heavens. And basically this was expressing the sentiment or the thought that humanity can reach heaven on its own strengths. Perhaps we can say there was an arrogance expressed by the building of this tower as a glory to themselves as opposed to the divine. And so this tower doesn't get finished. It's one of these projects in history, not just the Tower of Babel, that there are many other projects in history that have come to ruin. Humans plan one way, God plans another, and it just doesn't happen. Now, the Old Testament clearly reads God being unhappy with this and essentially descending upon this project and confusing the tongues, he says, tas glosas συνέχεια, confusing the languages i.e. everyone spoke the same language, and as a result of this failed project, the confusion of languages has occurred. Different languages came from it, and therefore they couldn't communicate with themselves, and therefore couldn't finish the project. This is the way the Old Testament describes or explains how the different languages occurred. Now we know that figuratively, obviously we accept that, but historically, of course, that doesn't stack up. But that doesn't bother us, because what we get here is a spiritual message. And the spiritual message is that we too, in all our projects and plans and big ideas that we have, which we are with every right can have those ideas, of course, otherwise we wouldn't progress, both as individuals, families, communities or societies. Where there is confusion of languages, where there is no communication, where there is disharmony, those projects will come to ruin. It's a bit of a thing in reverse, as you can understand. And so the hymnographer who writes this poem says, well, let's have a look at this. Miscommunication, lack of understanding and harmony between people results in failed projects. But when you have harmony, when you have the Holy Spirit in your heart, and you are able to spread that to your family, to your friends, to the community of the church, and to a certain degree to society, the result is what we get at Pentecost. And so, at Pentecost, God once again descends in the form of fire, and this time, remember, the word for languages was tongues. The tongues were confused. This time he brings down tongues of fire. What does that mean? If you look at the icon of the Pentecost, you will see just above the heads of the apostles little flames of fire. That's what we mean by tongues of fire. And that the Holy Spirit comes down upon the disciples and apostles, and by extension comes down on all those who open their hearts to receiving the Holy Spirit, so that the tongues are now not confused, but the tongues represent the flame of faith and of the presence of the Holy Spirit in our hearts and in our minds. And as a result of this spiritual harmony, God calls all of us to unity. So once again, if we focus on just what the Old Testament narrative says, we may lose the rest of the story. And the rest of the story is that God rectifies this problem. God enables us, inspires us, brings us together, moves certain things in our lives in such a way such that we can come into unity of faith and spirit. The consequence is the conclusion of the hymn, so that we can glorify in one voice the All-Holy Spirit. The glorification of the All-Holy Spirit expressed in this one voice, symphonos doxazomen. Symphonos is also the word in music, symphony. Symphonia means that all the voices come together as one. What a beautiful analogy to express this unity of faith and this desire to have the Holy Spirit in our lives and inspiring our lives and letting the Holy Spirit do its thing in our lives, so that our projects converge with God's will as opposed to going against God's will. A few thoughts for today. Once again, thank you for being with us today. I can very proudly say that this is the biggest crowd we've had for the Day of the Holy Spirit ever in my time here at our church. And obviously that expresses your desire to be back at church, and that's a beautiful thing. And also, together with the 50 people here today, we have 50 people watching live. That's 100 people we've never had on the Monday of the All Holy Spirit. So we've had a very, very good result in many, many ways. And please spread the word. Do subscribe. Sorry that I keep pushing this, but we do need to get to 1,000. There's 30. We need 30 more people to subscribe to hit that 1,000 on YouTube, and that will allow us to just get that boost from YouTube itself. Their algorithm allows for greater viewership if you pass that 1,000, a couple of other features as well. Antidoro you will find at the door, so you will exit row by row. Thank you for coming. Our next service is next Sunday, All Saints Day. Παρακαλώ, πρώτη σειρά, περάστε.
So funny.